It's so tangible. I can put my hands on it,
Mm-hmm.
bolt on a new part, and now it's better. And my profession, man, that's you just can't do that with human beings.
Welcome to the Inspiro Podcast, a podcast exploring personal growth, leadership, strategy, communication, and fulfillment. We are your hosts, Jason Luchtefeld and Bill Woodburn. I'm here as a dentist, transitioning into a career to help facilitate individuals and their organizations towards a more fulfilling future.
Hi there, I'm Bill Woodburn, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and licensed marriage and family therapist in Austin, Texas. I'm fascinated by the way people come together to solve problems, whether that's couples or families, dental practices, or organizations. We're going to be exploring a lot of topics, and for us to be able to be free to do that, I have to let you know that this is not intended to be dental advice or counseling advice. Part of what we're taught, I know in your profession, but also in mine, is to be some sort of extra human, meta-human, not fully human to do what we do.
Yeah.
You have to be objective, you have to be clinical, you have to be detached. There are all sorts of words for it, but basically it's kind of like check your humanity at the door. And before I get too critical on that, I mean, I do think that our professions are flagging an important piece, which means that if you're going to be working with people and if you're going to be in a healing profession, your humanity is going to be hung out there too. You're going to be open to being hurt. You're going to be open to having questions about life, the universe, and everything that, yeah, if you're working in a factory, you just cruise on by. I mean, who that cares? But when you have someone ask you, like with chronic pain, why did this happen to me?
Mm.
And you can give a clinical reason, but that's not the question they're asking.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I have to suffer?
Yeah.
I'm a good person. I've done good things. And now I'm suffering, and I might be suffering for the rest of my life. And you know, what universe does that work in? And then you go home with that. Because whatever glib answers we're taught, you know, that might even work with a client or a patient. But yeah, then we got to go home, and then we're sitting there watching Netflix, and suddenly we're thinking, why do bad things happen to good people?
Mm-hmm. So I think one point there of an important clarification, because you had mentioned this being something that our professions share. And I think that there is the potential for them to share that. The difference is, I don't think you have a choice. And I think that dental practices have a choice. And I think most of them make the choice that they don't want to enter that part of the arena, and they want to just do dentistry. And so they don't have those deeper conversations. They don't ask the questions. They just decline to treat chronic pain and they refer it out. They don't have a conversation about why are you crying today, Mrs. Jones? We're just doing a cleaning. And so instead, they just push all that aside and they get the dental stuff done and let them go on their way. And you don't get that choice in your profession.
Well, I believe you don't get that choice in my profession if you want to be really good at it.
Okay.
But my mentor always used to say, being a counselor is a great place to hide.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and out my profession a little bit and say, no. We are challenged by this.
Okay.
And just like dentists are challenged like this, and we are tempted to avoid it, just like dentists are tempted to avoid it.
Okay.
We are a lot closer on this than most people think.
Yeah.
Now we have to make a choice, but I believe that, a good dentist has to make a choice. How close are you going to operate? How human are you going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a rather dynamic choice. It depends on the day, how you are, what patient we're talking about, what procedures we're talking about, who you need to be. I mean, it's complex and nuanced. I really don't want to make this some sort of black and white, this is good, this is bad kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great point, that we all need to figure out where that line is for us, that we are comfortable being maybe a little bit challenged, but also opening up a door for providing more care to people as humans versus just as teeth. And that line is going to be different for all of us with different patients, even. And so getting to know the patient, so you know when it's too much for you, I think is important.
And getting to know ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And on that particular day, I'm reminded of, many years ago, I was teaching a course at the local counseling grad school here, and I was teaching a family dynamics course. So I get up for a lecture, one of the first of the class. And what the class doesn't know is I've just flown in from my father's funeral. You know how many times you say father in a family dynamics class? And at some point I just had to, I kept facing away from the class and writing stuff on the blackboard that I didn't need to write on the blackboard. And finally I just had to stop and say, okay, guys, I got to level with you. I am struggling emotionally with this. And this is where I am today, and this is what I'm going to be able to do today. And there are going to be some things I'm probably not going to do today, and we'll just pick them up in a couple of weeks when things are more leveled out. It was just, I have to know me and be able to accept me and then kind of explain me to the other people, and we have to come up with something that works for everybody, but also works for me, and knowing that, human beings have limits. And if you come in from your father's funeral, you're going to have some feelings.
Mm-hmm. So that self-awareness piece, can you talk us through that? How that, obviously that plays a critical role, but how do we develop that ability in that kind of frame in order to be able to still get a job done, to not, like, you didn't cancel the class, which you could have done. Some people would have.
Sure.
And that can be okay too. Some people would have been able to talk right through it and not had a problem, and that's okay too. So I'd like to know more from you about how to coach someone through developing the self-awareness and the resilience part of with that, so that they can figure out what the right choice for them is in a difficult circumstance.
Yeah, oh gosh, there's a lot there. The first thing I'm going to talk about is what anxiety is. That feeling of threat that we get that we labeled anxiety. And that's different than fear. Fear is, there's a tiger in the room and he could eat me, and I'm afraid because there's the tiger right there. And there's certain, both metabolic processes and, it's a thing. We recognize that as fear. But anxiety, usually we're feeling it without the presence of the thing that we're afraid of. Or at least it's certainly not in front of us. What anxiety is, at least in my profession, is when we are afraid that we will lose control of our feelings, and that some feeling we don't want to feel will come up, present itself, and we'll have to feel it.
Can you say that again?
Sure. That anxiety is when we're fearful of losing control of ourselves or our inner selves, and having a feeling that we dread come up, feeling we don't want to feel. You could have anxiety because you think if you don't do this and this, then you're going to feel terribly guilty or terribly ashamed, or you'll just hate yourself if you don't go back and check and make sure that you turn the stove off. I know you're halfway done to your vacation, but I just can't stand it. I've got to. Okay, that's that anxiety dynamic. If I don't want to feel this, there's no tiger in the room. We're not reacting to an actual thing. We're reacting to this fear that we're gonna have to feel something at some moment in the future, and that it might be imminent right now with this patient, in this situation, with this procedure. Oh my gosh. And that's not really fear, because again, nothing bad's happened yet. Nothing really is even threatening yet. What's threatening is we might have to feel a feeling we don't want to feel. Now, the reason I bring this up real quick to link it is one of the first things to be aware of for self-awareness is, wait a minute, how much of this feeling I'm getting is that I'm afraid I'm going to feel something? As long as we've got that, then that works against our self-awareness. What about I can feel what I need to feel, whether that's good, bad, or in the middle? That I can go into work and I can feel what I need to feel in my practice. It's not going to crush me. It's not going to kill me. Okay, now I'm able to move anxiety off the table, and I'm just dealing with what is for me. And it doesn't have that turbo boost that anxiety gives it.
Well, there you go. Episode 1 of the Staying Human series. More next week. Talk at you then.